Today, we're talking with Guilherme Rajzman, co founder and CEO of Wally, about transforming digital experiences to drive business success. Welcome to BeyondSaaS. I'm Jason Niedle, founder of Tethos. We are a growth agency, and we've been accelerating tech company growth through strategy, branding, lead generation, and conversion with a 20-year track record of success. If you're looking to grow your company, check out tethos.com/podcast for our paper on hypergrowth tactics, compiled from interviews, or easier yet, just drop the word growth in the comments and I'll DM you. Today, I'm excited to dive into digital innovation with Guilherme. He is the co-founder and CEO of Wally. It is a Brazilian car-sharing platform that allows users to rent vehicles via a mobile app on an hourly, daily, or monthly subscription basis. I wish we had that here. With insurance, fuel, maintenance, and 24/7 support included. It sounds amazing, and I want to hear about that. And I hear that it makes renting really simple as just reserving and unlocking a car on your phone, with vehicles stationed all around residential condos and hotels and shopping centers in Rio. And more. I hear you're also expanding across Brazil. So your vision is to redefine how people move around cities by making car sharing seamless and accessible. And I'm also interested to hear how that relates to AI in the future. So welcome, Guilherme.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here. A pleasure to talk to you guys. I've been working here really hard in Brazil, especially for the last 3 years since we founded Wally. We are a shared mobility platform, as I told you before. So we connect vehicle providers such as car rental companies, automakers, and stores to the end user through a mobile app, through a completely digital experience. So as I told before, users can rent and unlock cars by the city on hotels, condominiums, and shopping centers by hourly, monthly, or even daily rates. And the best thing is you only pay for what you use.
It's so much better than trying to wait and go to a car rental place and spend an hour filling out paperwork for them to tell you they don't have the car that you signed up for. And then you come back and yeah, it sounds like so much less of a headache.
Yeah, it's actually our main goal, our main competitor. Actually, it's your own car. So in Brazil, we have like a economic scenario in which before the pandemic hit it on 2020, you needed 30 minimum wages to buy. The cheapest car possible. Now after the pandemic, since 2021, you need approximately 60 minimum wages. So it doubled since then. So to buy cars here in Brazil, it's very very expensive. The interest rates are so high. So we found this as an opportunity, to scale our business, to start a business actually and start scaling. And by the other side, we just noticed that digital renting is not as common in Latin America, especially in Brazil. So the rental companies, the automakers, they're not into it yet. So we developed a platform on which we can digitalize the full experience from the end user perspective as well as the fleet perspective. So here in Brazil, we have a big scenario regarding renting platforms and renting companies on which they're not digitalized. So we have to go to a renting agency, do the whole process, and it's a little bit of a pain because you get there, stay there for like 30 minutes, you get out of the car, you have to rent for at least 24 hours. So for the end user, it's not a good experience. So we are tackling exactly on this pain right now.
I love that. Before I forget, do you have a golden nugget? And then we'll talk more about Wally.
Sure. Yeah. My golden nugget is the book Lean Analytics. Most of your audience probably know Lean Startup series. This book is written by Alistair Grow and Benjamin Yoskowitz. And the main focus of the book is, especially me as a early stage startup founder, you have to focus on maybe one or two main metrics to grow your business. And the good thing about this book is it's like a cake recipe. It tells you about all the stages of a startup from the empathy perspective, when you find out the customer have a pain, to the stickiness stage and to the growth stage. And I mean, the best thing here is you have like a chapter for each business model. So if you're like on a mobile app or on a two-sided marketplace as we are, or like a software as a service, you have different specific metrics for each stages of your company. So it helps a lot regarding like where to look for benchmarks and stuff like that. So I mean, it was awesome to discover in this book. I'm a big fan of the Lean Startup series as well. So, it was really good.
Super cool. So how do you compare yourself with the other ride-sharing apps that are out there?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm actually, since we're from Latin America, from Brazil, we are in a economic scenario which is a developing country. It's not a developed industry. So we can look at lots of benchmarks abroad, like Europe and the US. As I told you before, Jason, the car renting industry in Brazil, especially, I mean, the car subscription, the car renting, and the car sharing industry in Brazil is still a little bit of incipient. So if you compare like with the biggest, like the most developed countries, you have lots and lots of solutions in the market. A good data I like to always bring to conversation is in Brazil, we only have 27% of the car manufacturing going to the car renting companies. If you compare to the US, at US is like approximately 50% or 60%. So, I mean, the use case of the mobility as a service, as I was saying, is getting better and growing in Brazil. And if we compare our solution to the other, car sharing, car renting platforms abroad and in Brazil, the big difference is we are actually a marketplace. So we try to help the renting companies, the automakers, and the stores to fully digitalize their experience so they can lower their costs and especially bring the user experience up a lot. And if you compare to the other ones, they are full like asset heavy. So they have their own assets. Our focus is not the operations or the car maintenance and stuff like that. We leave that to the car renting companies. Our whole focus here is the tech space and the growth. So we are focusing a lot on the IoT development, of our cars. We are enabling AI to discover where is going to be the next user, so we can predict usability across all the regions in the city, especially in Rio and the other sides of Brazil as we are growing. So since we founded the company back in 2021, we decided to build everything in house from the IoT solution, to the software solution to the application. And in the beginning, we had a hard pivot because when we started out, we used to own our assets. So we bought the cars, resulting on like the capex going really up, going the opex going up as well. Lots of risks, small margins, and lots of difficulties to growth. Back in 2022, like 1 or 2 years after we founded Wally, different renting companies, especially in southeast of Brazil, São Paulo, Rio, started to look for our technology and to digitalize their companies, their operations to get the user experience up. Then we have like a click. Should we like pivot and turn to a marketplace? Since we have the operations, we have like the partners in the hotels, condominiums, shopping centers. We have the know-how to operate this business model. So back in 2022, 2023, we started to pivot and to sell our own cars. And now we are fully like asset light platform. That's what's differ most of us to the other car renting companies, the other car sharing companies abroad. We can actually look ourselves just as Turo in the US, Turo in the US and Europe. So it's pretty similar how we approach the end user. Of course, we have some big barriers in Brazil and Latin America, especially when we talk about security issues. So since the beginning of Wally, we focused a lot on security, background checking of the users, lots and lots of different security rules regarding the IoT to block the cars and stuff like that. So, as we like to say here in Brazil, we imported a business model. We imported a model which is growing in Europe and America, but we have to do a little bit of tweak to adapt it to the context of Latin America and a developing country like Brazil.
Right, it has to work for you there. It's such an interesting model too, because in one hand, you're really reducing friction in a transaction that's been hard. Like how do I get a car, right? Okay, I can buy it, but 60 times the minimum wage, that's not going to happen. I can try to borrow one, but that doesn't work very well. I can try to rent one, that's a nightmare. So you've reduced the friction in this, but then you have multiple ICPs, right? You have to figure out, how do I deal with the people who own the assets? How do I deal with the people that want the assets? How do I deal with people that want to scam the assets or are not careful? So I think there's a lot of moving parts, and it's quite interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a great observation, actually, Jason, because when we pivoted, when we stopped having our own cars, it was good for our operations, for our margins, for our scalability. But at the same time, we started to have a new customer, which are the seller side of the marketplace. So, I mean, we're here to talk about growth, and we think we're going to explore a little bit more about these two sides of our users and clients.
So what did you have to do differently, right? You were talking to one audience and then you had this new audience. What did you discover and what did you learn through that process?
Yeah, we actually, when we started out back in 2021, it was a post pandemic year. So we were still in lockdown or semi lockdown, as I would call. We would recommend to stay in our house, but we can go out and, to work. And in the beginning, it was really good. I always love to talk about retention, okay, Jason, before talking about growth, because before scaling a company, you need to have retention. You need to have product market fit before you start to, to try different acquisition channels to scale your business. But since the beginning, the end user was always like sticky to the platform because we focused on big condominiums here in Rio de Janeiro, on which some people don't have a car, some families have only one car, but they need one extra car in occasions. So as we started out like very small with only two or three cars, use it two or three cars. It was really like really startup mode, I would say. The stickiness was really high already since the beginning. And because people would prefer using Wally than riding an Uber or riding a ride sharing or a taxi because of the safety issues regarding COVID. And then afterwards, as we started like trying to scale, we got hit of the car manufacturing crisis on 2021. No company had cars to sell. The car prices were going up. So it was really difficult to scale the offer of our cars to the end user. And people were asking more and more, we want more cars, we want more models. That's one of the reasons why we pivoted. And at the same time, as I told before, other companies started to look for our technology, to grow their business and to grow their digital presence in Brazil. So that was really good. But then on getting back to your question, we saw that we had a user and now we have another client. So what are the pains of this client? Because we're here to solve, issues, to solve a pain of the client who's looking for a technology to solve something. At the moment, we didn't know exactly what he was looking for. It was still is actually a really hard job, and I like this job to be close to the founder of the renting company, very close to the automaker. We're now partnering with Peugeot here in Brazil. They're
That's cool.
delivering cars to our platform to our parking spaces for us to operate. And then we just knew that we had two completely different sales funnel. So the end user is more like a self-service sales funnel, which you focus more on the brand awareness, even the direct response channels as Google and Facebook and Instagram or whatever. But the other side was a completely enterprise B2B sales funnel. So, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more later on, but completely different sales funnel, which we learned a lot the past 2 years. And now we're starting to expand on the whole country.
I think it's super interesting to have a company where you have your B2C split and you have your B2B enterprise, because enterprise is such a completely different sales process than the business to consumer.
Exactly. It's so much more, it's so much more close to your client. So I have lots and lots of friends who are actually startup founders just as me. Two of them have already exits in the space. And it's pretty funny because when we pivoted and we turned Wally to this marketplace here in Rio and all the other parts of Brazil, what I realized is you are so much closer to your B2B. It's so much easier to be close to your B2B client, to know his issues and his pains rather than, the B2C user. Because the B2C user, to be close to him, you have to have, when you send like forms and surveys to know what he's looking for, you call him, it's difficult. He doesn't tell you the whole story. So you need to have more energy to look for his pains and to know his problems a little bit more, to solve his issues as you develop more features and more, functionalities in your product for him.
I think it's fascinating because, in a way, it seems like it would be easier to know the B2C consumer, but I absolutely hear you. So, your title is co founder and CEO. What's at the heart of your role of CEO? Like, what's important about what you do?
Oh, okay, so in this phase of our business, sales, completely focused on sales right now. So, I mean, we are a small team yet. We have like 6 people now. So, we have like three in technology, two in operations, and me. So, our main goal right now is to grow Wally to all parts of Brazil. We're just actually opening up our seed round right now. So, we developed product market fit in the last year. As I was telling you before, Jason, we have a big focus on retention on both sides of the marketplace, from the end user and to the selling side, the fleet owners. And for us, it was really important after our pivot back in 2023, 2024, leading in the beginning of 2024, 1 year ago, to check if the retention would be good after 6 months of 1 year of this client. And it's turning out to be really well because most of our clients are growing the fleet in Wally. They're turning all their fleets to our platform. And we learned a lot on the way, especially regarding simplifying their operations, which in Brazil, you still don't have enough products to support those kinds of small to medium sized companies, those SMBs companies, mobility companies, So we are solving actually both issues at the same time, and it's turning out to be really nice. So for this, from the perspective of our clients, which is the fleet owner, we solve two issues regarding their operations. So we simplify the operations, but we actually have a big user base and a big parking lots, so many parking lots here in Brazil, so like hotels, condominium, shopping centers. So we are solving both the demanding of their cars, the customer acquisition side, as well as their operations, to getting those costs down and to get the user experience up for them.
Which side do you feel constrains you more? Is it the availability of cars or is it the demand?
And it depends a lot on the region, on the stage of the maturity of the region you are talking about. Wally, we are in Rio since 2021, so we have our biggest operations in Rio. So we have lots and lots of brand awareness of the end user here in Rio, so it's easier in that way in Rio to acquire new users. Of course, you have the elasticity problem regarding like special times in the year, like Christmas and Carnival here, and the holidays, which the demand goes up a lot and now is going down again. But since we're inside the condominiums, inside the hotels, those the demand is not a problem for us, especially here in Brazil and Sao Paulo. Our focus, our main goal is to get up our seller side, the fleet
Mhm.
owners who to integrate their fleet in our app and in our platform, just to start expanding their fleet and to digitalize their fleet. So our main goal and the main pain points actually is on this side actually.
Yeah. So what's your growth goal over the next year, and what are you doing in sales and marketing to make that happen?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so last year we tripled our GMV from January to December. We tripled it, and our goal is to triple it again in this year. But yeah, but now it's we were just in Rio last year. We started to our operations in São Paulo in the end of last year, and in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, another state here in Brazil, which is the biggest state actually in Brazil, last year too in December. So our main goal is to know a little bit more of the users on each different region of Brazil, since we have a country which is so much bigger than most of the countries in Europe. We have so many different cultures and so many different perspectives regarding people who use their car. So we have to learn a lot. Southeast Rio, São Paulo is completely different than the Northeast. So much different. So our main goal now is to use, this scalability as the asset light model is bringing us to get to know, more of the customers on the other sides of Brazil. The main traction channels we are using right now, especially the acquisition channels on the user end side, is of course content generation like social media, Instagram, brand awareness stuff. But we also have some direct response, like as I told you before, like Google, Facebook, Instagram, those kinds of direct ads. But since we partner up with big hotel chains and big condominiums, the user demand side, it gets a little bit easier because the condominiums, they actually promote their service inside. So I mean, just the offline media in the condominium, it doesn't work for us regarding the brand awareness. If you talk about the seller perspective, like the fleet owners, the car renting business, the automakers, the stores who put the cars in a platform to integrate them, it's more as I told you before, B2B, like enterprise selling models. So we participate in a lot of different events, lots of business developing. So we have lots and lots of business who are integrated in a platform, which they aggregate services in our platform, and they have the same ICP as we have. So we use them a lot, to grow our seller side. And now on, we're just starting to, get our commercial team a little bit bigger to scale a little bit faster here in the region. But our main goal in the next 3 years is to dominate Brazil, to be in every region of Brazil. And probably in 5 years, we're going to start to expand abroad to the other countries of Latin America.
It's amazing. I feel like you have your work cut out for you because you have hotels and condos to work with, you have fleet owners to work with, you have enterprise sales, you have consumer sales, and then on top of that, you have localization. And normally I think about localization as like Netflix making a Latin American version of a movie and a Spanish version, right? And they're slightly different and they're localized in an English version and a this and that, and then they change up their marketing. but I haven't thought about localization in a physical product within a country. And so what you're doing, it sounds very complex in terms of getting the marketing out there.
Of course, it is, especially because, as we talked before, Brazil is a developing country. So it brings the pros and the cons. The biggest pros actually is, since the economic is not as good as Europe or the US, you don't have so many companies trying to dominate the market. And users, the population don't have access to this kind of solutions really often. So it brings us to have like a, how can I say, I don't know if it's the right expression in English, but a blue ocean, which you don't have any kinds of competitors in your space.
It's the
So
same saying, yeah.
yeah, it's the same actually. We call it the same in Portuguese. That was my doubt. But that's a big pro for us because I would say we have the time to learn with the user. And one thing I will not do at all is to expand, like to raise capital, expand, not knowing what pain we are exactly solving to this region or to know exactly what this user is trying to look for. So it brings us a lot of like flexibility to, oh, we're going to expand to this region right now. This region has like better economics, people are more educated, so we're gonna bring there. But at the cons, it's the same time, like big interest rates, really hard, to keep balance of your financials. So you have to bring your cash flow always positive, especially as an early stage startup, especially now as we're starting to grow further here in Brazil.
And even the cost of cars is almost a pro and a con for you, right? It's both because if cars are expensive, the average person can't get them, but also your supply is lower. And then we just had a round of, as we film this, we just had a round of tariffs hit, which is probably going to complicate some of the pricing as well through all that. So kind of crazy. Is there anything in sales and marketing that used to work pretty well in the past and it's not working anymore, or anything that you thought might not work and it's working really well?
I'm going to tell like a little bit of a story here in Brazil regarding influencers of Instagram and Facebook. When you have a B2C product here, I think in Europe too and in the US as well. Back in the days, it was really easy, to grow your user base, getting to partner with content creation influencers in Instagram and Facebook and, other platforms. But now it's getting a little bit expensive and it's not getting the same returns as before. And we can say the same thing in the B2C perspective regarding the direct response ads. So before, like I remember like 2, 3 years ago, we had a CPC. I can't quite remember what exactly was the CPC, but it doubled like in 2 years. So
Mm.
yeah, those kinds of acquisition channels are getting like more saturated. We have to look for other options. And what we discovered on this time, Jason, like learning and like tweaking those user acquisition channels, is regarding the B2C perspective of the end user, of the population who uses the car to rent a car. And I'm talking about all profiles: the profile who rents a car for a couple of hours, the profile who rents a car for like a weekend, or the profile of user who rents for like months or maybe even years. When you develop a relationship with this user, like telling a story, when you can put this user in the center of your story, I think it's when it all suits better because you tend to have more retention. So as long as you have a good brand awareness and you can bring customers cheaply, you have to tweak and you have to focus, have more of a focus on the storytelling and all those kinds of features and all those kinds of communications on which you put this user in the center of your product. In the end of the day, you're solving his problem. So that's a main goal here for us, and especially in the B2C kind of perspective.
There's so many important things in what you said. First of all, focusing on the problem and solving that, right? And for any of your ICPs, like what's the problem and how are we solving it? It's not about the tech. It's not about all the work you guys did developing the app. It's like you're solving that problem. It's also important, cost per clicks doubled for you, which is very common. I hear that a lot. Influencers have stopped performing and charge more.
Exactly.
And so getting hyper focused on your type of user and centering them on your story and then retaining those users is also such a key. So all of those things are just super critical. And I love all of that.
Yeah, it's so much important you do this to tweak your product and to develop new features. I have a good example back in the days, back in 2021 when we started out. Wally was just a regular car sharing company offering like hourly or minute plans. But then I'm still like really, really close to the end user, but back then even more. People started to tell us to put like daily plans or even monthly or yearly plans, because they wanted to stay with the car for a little bit longer. So that's an like observation on which we tweeted our product, we changed it, and we got it better, to attend this customer profile even better, and to bring the user satisfaction, and all those metrics regarding retention real up.
And I can imagine a 1 year rental is essentially someone who can lease a car, right? And an hourly renter is someone who cannot afford to lease a car. So those are very different profiles.
Exactly. Those are completely different profiles. You were straight to the point. Like the hourly plans, the ICP, which rents a car for a couple of hours or even, a little bit more, but less than a day, normally are users who want, who don't want to spend lots of money. They can't. And the other side of that is the ICP, which rents the car for like a couple of months or even years. On our flex lease plan, we have like a flex lease on which you rent a car for a month. In the next month, you can change your car for no, difference in the price. So you can have like different cars on every month. When you travel, when you go to your holidays, you can stop your plan, you stop playing, and then you get back to your plan and then you get back playing.
Kind of like all that. I
Yeah,
wish I could do that with my car.
yeah, cool. Yeah. So, I mean, our main goal to the end user is to bring flexibility, to bring this experience on which he will only pay for what he uses with so much flexibility.
So you've been doing this 4 or 5 years now. What would you tell earlier stage CEOs? What advice do you have for other C leaders out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring back a phrase of the co-founder of Waze, which he says he has a book actually, which is the title of his book. You have to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So I think the main problem of early stage founders, especially first time founders, is they develop like a mobile app or a solution or a product, and they fall in love with this product, and they cannot find the distribution. They cannot find the RCP. They cannot find where to deliver this product. And the main focus of every founder, I think, is to fall in love exactly with the problem, because we're here to solve this problem. We have many examples of startups who pivoted in the in the beginnings or even after a couple of years, like us. And I'll talk a lot with a lot of founders here in Brazil, here in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. And one good perspective of it is actually it's getting really easy to build products, especially now with AI enabled, low code platforms. Everyone is doing good products now. It's really easy. You don't need any money actually. You need, nothing at all. You don't even need a co-founder or CTO. But the main problem is to distribute that. It's to put this product in the market and to find this ICP. So, I mean, I think the main focus as every CEO, as an advice I would give, is instead of trying to look for a product to build, you have to find a customer to build a product for. I think that's the main focus for early stage, founders.
I think that's great. I know we're getting close to your time here. Last question. The world feels pretty turbulent. The technology is changing radically. The political situation seems to be changing everywhere in the world. We have tariffs. We have all sorts of things. How are you planning for the year or the years ahead? Like, how are you planning to navigate this chaos?
That's a great question, actually, Jason. Okay, so regarding our expansion here in Brazil and Latin America, we're focused on pulverizing our customers. And I'm talking about like the seller perspective and the buyer perspective, the people who's going to rent the cars and the fleet owners who are integrating their fleets to our platform. So as long as we can pulverize those kinds of ICPs and have lots and lots of different kinds of users, and clients. We just found out yesterday that Auto, which is a big car share company here in South America, is closing their doors. Unfortunately, they were from Chile. They came to São Paulo, to Brazil, expanding, and they unfortunately closed their doors, probably for like economic reasons and those issues you were telling before. But our main focus now is to pulverize those kinds of fleet owners, especially different like automakers, stores, car renting companies. And if you focus on each kind of ICP, you have different sizes of those kinds of clients. So we are building this product on a perspective on which we can solve the pain points and the problems of different ICPs and not only one. So I think that's a big like protection for us regarding the future and the instability of the world right now.
Love that. So this has been super interesting, and I appreciate you calling in. Where can our audience find you?
You guys can find me on LinkedIn, Guilherme Rajzman. My name is right here. Feel free to to contact me. It would be a pleasure to talk a little bit And you can find Wally also on LinkedIn, and you can find Wally on Instagram, Wally Car Sharing.
Wally Car Sharing, and that's WALI. For the listeners out there, the website is GoWally, GOWALI.com. And Rajman is RAJZMAN.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for being on Beyond SaaS. For leaders in mid-stage tech looking to grow, we drop our episodes twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can find me, Jason Niedle, at tethos.com, TETHOS.com. And go ahead and jump over to tethos.com/podcast and grab our report if that interests you. And as always, please drop some comments, questions, follow us, and don't forget to share this episode if you found it valuable today. Until next time, this is Beyond SaaS.